The Stage Door Show, celebrating the independent artist. With your host, Dave Hondell.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to The Stage Door Show. I'm Dave Hondell. Tonight, we have an actor that you've seen in Ocean's Rising, Zoombies, Alien Convergence, Totally TV, Romance in Hawaii, and many, many more. And we're so happy he's with us tonight. So please welcome Mr. Cedric Jonathan. How you doing, Cedric?
I'm doing pretty well. Aloha, Dave. Aloha, everyone that's tuning in. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So it's so nice to have you on the show. And you know I mentioned some of the stuff that you've been in, but one of the things I really want to get into to start out with is that you actually learned to do hula dancing, as being an actor, and it did that help you kind of get some other roles down the road, learning the hula dance?
Yeah, actually, kind of backtracking towards my acting career, Dave. The very, very first movie I did, which was an independent film shot all in Hawaii, where I'm from, it talks about hula. And at that time, I think this film, forgive me of the dates, but I'm sure we can research it afterwards. But I think it came out like in 2012. And at that time, hula, was predominantly thought of from people who aren't familiar with that culture as like a feminine thing, right? Grass skirts, coconut bikinis. So in actuality, the person that wrote and directed the film wanted to bring to light what hula is actually about, the authenticity of it. And there are male hula dancers out there. And I am a hula dancer. I dance for, I'm very, very blessed to be a part of this Halau hula group. It's called Halau no Kamaleo Lili Hua, and it's under the guidance of Kumu Robert Uluvehi Kazimero, who is a Hawaii living legend. And so I first learned hula for the preparation of that movie, that very first movie. That movie is called The Haumana, and I believe it came out in like 2012, if I'm not mistaken. Obviously, we're now in 2023, so it's a decade later. And this movie, Romance in Hawaii, was basically being pitched. And it was being pitched in a sense of we wanted to, or the director and the producers were talking to me, and they wanted to do like a romantic film in Hawaii, but they didn't want to make it like a stereotypical romantic film in Hawaii, like a mainland girl falls in love with a local boy.
Right. They
wanted to incorporate this hula element in it. And it was very, very daunting to do so because hula is such a, how should I say, it's such a rich, sensitive culture that you have to make sure that you're representing it the right way. And so there was a lot of, well, I don't think there was a lot, but there was a good handful of rewrites done to the script because we had to, or the director had to get, advice from actual hula or kumu hulas or instructors to make sure that what we are talking about is okay. It's pono. It's okay to disclose because there's certain things that is, I guess, kind of like we don't want to say or introduce to the general public if they're not in that community.
Sure.
So to answer your question, because I did that very first movie in 2012 and I continued practicing hula until this day, it kind of was like this role was kind of like, oh my God, it was perfect for me. And funny thing is the character's name is Ikaika, which is also my Hawaiian name. So it's like, oh my God, we didn't know you. And we created this role and we just discovered you and you dance hula.
It was meant to be.
I guess, it was meant to be. And I guess you're, okay, good looking. So yeah, let's do it.
Absolutely. That's good. And I know that, I'm a huge fan of the, the Polynesian culture and in Hawaii and like even our backyard, we made it into like a mini, Polynesian backyard. I know how traditional it is. It's everything that you dance speaks to something, and that's what I like about it so much because you're using your body to tell a story, and it's just amazing to me. Yeah. You're very talented and so keep up the great work there. Another thing I wanted to talk to you about is, growing up in Hawaii, was, and I talked to Michael Sunley, I know who you're friends with and had on the show. But, is that something, and I asked him this question too, but, growing up in Hawaii, was it always your plan to move to Los Angeles and be an actor? I'm not really sure what the acting, opportunities are in Hawaii, but was it always something you wanted to, you dreamed about, dreamt about, or was it something that when you got to college, it was like, wow, this is fun, being on stage and, and then you moved to Los Angeles after you got the acting bug. So when did that bug really kind of bite you?
Oh man, that's a great question. I actually never thought of myself as being an actor. Growing up, I considered myself very shy. I was still kind of introverted in a sense. And I imagined myself being an accountant, completely far different from what I'm doing right now. I actually went to school for accounting, and went to school in Hawaii. And then in Hawaii, I actually did some theater, and it was just mostly for, getting my extracurriculars done and all that kind of stuff. And my theater coach at the time, he was like, hey, it seems like you enjoyed yourself being out there, and I think it's something that you might want to consider doing as a profession. And circling back to the very first movie that I did, the Homana, it wasn't until I finished that movie that it dawned on me as like, you know what, I'm going to take the jump and I'm going to go to LA. I'm going to, tough it out and hopefully see what happens from there. And I'm just really happy that I did that, and I haven't looked back ever since.
What was that like though, going to LA? I mean, was it tough?
It was actually pretty. It was tough. There are ups and downs that I'm sure everyone can relate to who are in the industry. The thing is, when I moved to LA, I did it at the time where the film that I just did was picking its momentum. So basically, it did its premiere at the LA Asian Pacific Film Festival, and it did a lot of film festivals showings, and it garnered a lot of audiences and attention. So from there, I moved to LA to, basically go with the film, talk about it. And in addition to that, I've had a really great support system when I first moved out there. Michael Sun Lee being one of them. A lot of local actors from Hawaii that moved to LA. They basically kind of took me under their roof, and they basically said, hey, you know what, this is what to look out for. This is what helped for me. This is what to expect in these type of things. So I was very grateful that the moment I got there, I knew what to do. I pitched myself to some agencies to see if I can get signed, and I was able to get signed relatively quick from when I moved out there, and then just picked up from there ever since. And then a lot of my earlier works outside of that first movie that I did was mostly from commercials and prints. I've garnered a lot of success doing a lot of commercials and a lot of print jobs. And I started off mostly because the agency I was signed with, and I'm still with them, but they were interested in me only in their commercial print division. Mm. And then they said, okay, well, we'll see what, will happen once we sign you on board there. And then, I was able to successfully, get a few gigs here and there. And then that's when I was able to kind of branch out and move into like their TV theatrical department. And then from there, it was just a matter of like finding the right roles for me and, finding what my niche is. And I think that's a struggle for a lot of actors, is trying to figure out what their niche is in the industry so they can better market themselves. But yeah, it was definitely challenging moving to the mainland to pursue this industry, especially since it's so competitive. And but I think that's why I love it, and that's why I don't look back, because I love challenges. I love, trying to take the harder route to see if I can end up being successful in that. And, so far so good.
Yeah. And you hit on a point that I like to talk about. And, you did a lot of commercial and print ads, and the new actors that they want to go to Hollywood, they want to get right into the big movies, and they want to get into, the big TV shows. And sometimes they're overlooking some of the things that are going to actually put food on the table. Which I think is, if they can do a lot of commercial work, a lot of print work, correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, this is something that all actors should try to do if they can, to try to, maintain, like I said, some kind of an income. Because I know a lot of commercials, if you do a national commercial, you get like residuals sometimes. And I mean, is that something that you recommend as well, to try to, like I said, keep money in the bank?
Oh my God, absolutely. A lot of times too, especially when an actor is starting off, they have no choice. Like you mentioned earlier, whatever you can get to put food on the table. And when you're first starting off, you can't really be too picky. I mean, it's good to set boundaries and know what you are okay with doing. That's completely different from what I'm thinking about. Like if you get like maybe a small bit or a role, and you'd rather, obviously everyone wants to be the focus and the attention in the spotlight, but like I said, if you're just starting off, for me, I wasn't too picky with the roles I got. I obviously set my boundaries and I know what my limitations were to feel comfortable on set. But doing commercials, doing print jobs, it's actually a great way to also feel confident being in front of the camera. It's also a great way for me that at least it put me in the right spot and mindset to know that, okay, you know what? This is working out for me. Let me continue doing this. It's kind of like a momentum thing for me, I know there are lulls in this industry. You'll probably book a job and then you're waiting for like months or years until you get your next one. So for me, commercials and prints were a way to kind of fill in that void and make me feel a little more motivated and the momentum's keeping going, So I totally agree with you.
Yeah, now with the strike going on, I mean, I'm hoping that this is over quickly for you guys, because I know that there's a lot of people not working right now because of it. But obviously, this happens in the industry. It happens in sports. It happens in a lot of different industries, and I'm hoping for the best for all the actors and the writers out there that they get what they want and deserve. But that this all kind of ends soon, so everybody can get back to work and do what they love to do. But the other thing I wanted to ask you about that, because we talked about lulls that are happening, but is there other kind of work because of the strike that you can do out there that's not going to, I guess, be affected by the strike?
Yeah, absolutely. So anything that's not obviously backed or funded by a major studio, industrials, commercials, independent films, all of those things, there's still projects out there that I actually have an audition for a short film, but it's SAG that I have to work on. But it's one of those things where, as creatives, us as actors, we're not going to stop creating. We're not going to stop just because the executives and the studios are not budging. That's not going to stop us from creating.
Right.
So the thing about being in this industry is there's so many outlets that we can do and still make a good living out of. And I just did a Microsoft industrial, which was union, so that was pretty fun. But commercials right now, I'm seeing. I don't know if it's because it's the strike, but I'm seeing a pretty good tick on commercials happening right now. A lot of projects that are being posted for union commercials. And I think it's also because the holidays are like right around the corner too. So this is like prime to see auditions for commercials. And yeah, like you mentioned earlier as well, commercials can really, really put some good food on the table and keep you afloat for like a good few months or so. So definitely look out for indies, look out for commercials, look out for industrials, and then even print jobs too. Those are like pretty easy. I feel if you're able to, get your photo taken to sell a product, I think that's pretty cool. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, you're 100% right. Do you have any crazy audition stories? Because I like to ask this once in a while to see if actors, you've auditioned so many times, everybody's got to have that one that you look back on and like, wow, I can't believe that happened. Well, do you have any of those?
I do actually. It's an audition that I still remember till this day. And then for people that are kind of starting off in the industry and they ask me something similar. But at that time I had a manager, I'm not going to say his name, but the manager was basically, I'm sure he had great intentions, but he basically submitted me for this role. And this role literally in the casting notes said that must be of Native American descent. I am not. I don't feel comfortable doing it. And I told my manager, I was like, at that time, he's not my manager anymore, of course. I told him, I don't feel comfortable doing this role. And this was during the time when there was in-person auditions.
Right.
And the show was still, I think it's still airing now. But so the manager was like, you know what? They want to see you. So and to his words, say that you're part this. They're not going to know. And for me, that still didn't jive with my morals, my values.
Right, correct.
But what I wanted to do was I didn't want to waste my manager's time because he did work hard on getting me that audition. And, it doesn't hurt to, since they already had a time slot filled in for me to get seen and audition, it doesn't hurt to go in there anyways to show myself. So what I ended up doing was I did the audition. After I did the audition, he asked me that question again. And I full on was honest with him. I was like, you know what? I don't feel right representing something that I'm not. Mm-hmm. So I am not what you may be looking for. But I really appreciate the time you took to seeing me. And and then thank you for this opportunity. And they were very gracious. They were very appreciative that I was honest with them. And the moment I left that audition, my phone blew up and my manager was livid. Like, he was like, "You told them what?" And I was like, you know what? I don't think we see eye to eye anymore. And I'm totally fine if you want to sever any communication and no longer want to represent me. Like, we're both going to end up having to go different routes anyways.
Yeah.
And
that's probably one of many down the road that could have, took place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was one of those things where I'm looking back at it now because I felt good about the audition, and supposedly this was like direct to producers audition. So sometimes you get called in and then the producers are actually in that room, and in addition to the casting directors. And I felt good that, and I think that's why my manager at the time was really, really adamant about me going to this audition. But, looking back at it now, it was an opportunity that I'm really, really glad that I approached it the way I did, because I don't know if I would be able to continue this career if I'm not as authentic as I can be. I had to be honest about something, and it totally backfired on my end, and I lost my representation. So yeah.
Yeah, but at the same time, you're able to sleep at night, knowing that.
Yeah, of course. Yes.
100%.
So I'm looking at long term, totally, like longevity of my career. It's totally right. Like, I can still sleep at night, and
for sure.
It's not like I'm not booking anything anyway. So yeah.
Hey, it's Dave from the Stage Door Show. Have you ever wanted a digital business card that would speak for you? Well, let me introduce you to TalkingVCard. Imagine this, a business card that doesn't just sit in somebody's wallet, but actively introduces you, shares your latest work, or even a special message. That's what TalkingVCard is all about. It's modern, environmentally friendly, and has been an absolute game changer for networking in this digital age. Now here's the most exciting part. For a limited time, you can get lifetime ownership of your very own TalkingVCard for only $99. Plus, to ensure you're maximizing its potential, they're offering a free consultation to help supercharge your brand. As many of you know, TalkingVCard is a proud VIP sponsor of our show, and I've been using it personally. The feedback has been absolutely amazing. For everyone tuned in right now, if you're looking to make a lasting impression and elevate your brand, I genuinely recommend giving TalkingVCard a try. There's a unique link on our show notes that'll take you straight there. And remember, maybe the next voice somebody hears from a digital card will be yours. Stay creative and stay connected. TalkingVCard. Did you ever have any on-location shoots? And what was your favorite one, I guess? What was your favorite place that you ever shot anything? Do you have a favorite location?
So my favorite shoot that I did, and this was a commercial shoot. And honestly, and with commercial shoots, I don't know if it's out there because they don't tell you. And a lot of times my friends blow up my phone and they're like, "Oh my God, I saw your commercial." So I don't even think this commercial's out yet or has ever been released, but it was for REI. The
outdoor place. Yeah.
I absolutely love this commercial shoot because they flew me to Chile.
Wow.
And it was during the pandemic too, by the way.
Oh, wow.
So you had to make sure you had your vaccination card present. And they basically did everything, your itinerary, all that kind of stuff. You have to make sure that you applied for this visa through the government and upload your health docs and all that kind of stuff. But this was during the pandemic where they flew me to Chile for 4 days. And the reason why I absolutely love this experience was, one, I was flown to another country I've never been to.
Yeah.
Two, it was during the time that when I got there, I remember I arrived there on a Monday, I believe. The streets were completely empty. There was no businesses open, nothing. And I thought it was because of the pandemic.
Yeah, right.
But what had happened was it was their election day for president.
Okay.
And I didn't know that. And, you know, in that country, whenever there's an election, everything's closed, which I think it should be. That's how you should do things.
Yeah, I agree.
And it wasn't until the following day, because the cool thing about that shoot is they had me there for 4 days and I only had to film for 1 day. So I had like 3 days to do absolutely nothing but be tourist.
Sightsee, yeah.
Yeah. So the second day I was able to meet up with some of the locals and they told me about what had happened. They were like, oh, you came in when? Yesterday? Oh, you should have joined us at there. Everyone was gathered at this park somewhere in like Santiago or something like that. And in that park, that's when they were waiting the results. And it was kind of, it was kind of eerie because it was similar to what we were experiencing here in the US. Of like, you had two types of candidates, one completely far left and the other one completely far right. And over there, it was kind of the same thing. However, the far right, I believe, was trying to be a revolutionary or something. Yeah. Anyways, I'm not a Chilean local, so I can't really speak more on that. But all I know is my experience with that culture, my experience with the people, it will always be with me till this day. Not only did I have to, it was such an easy film. I just had to be like a trail runner. So I was just running from point A to point B, and it only took me the most maybe 2 hours because we had to shoot in different locations. Other than that, I was done. I had my hotel. They literally booked me first class too, by the way. I didn't even know I had a first class ticket till I got to the counters. And they're like, oh, by the way, you have access to the lounge. I'm like, wait, what? You know? And then I was like, oh my God, this is great. Yeah. So my very favorite experience so far was my commercial shoot with REI that they shot in Chile. So
incredible. What a great story. Yeah. You're hoping all commercial shoots are like that, right?
Yeah.
That's great. So this is one question I don't think I've ever asked anybody, but I'm going to ask you, is there one specific actor out there, doesn't matter who it is, that is that dream actor you want to share the screen with? Somebody out there that you've always wanted to either be a co-star with or supporting role with. I mean, who is that one actor out there that you always wanted to work with, or is there one?
Great question. I honestly don't think I've ever been asked that question in my life, and it's I have a lot of favorite actors. And being in this industry, you grow up watching them, you do your research and do your film. I think one actor that I absolutely will enjoy working with is Mark Wahlberg, actually. And the only reason why is because I enjoyed his work when he played certain roles that whether they would be dramatic, but he also has some comedy chops too.
Right.
And I feel like, he's a great actor that will continue pushing his co-star or the person he's sharing the screen with. I think he's also unpredictable what he can give you. And, I think he's just one of those actors that I will enjoy working with. If I'm manifesting this, you said the question, so I'm manifesting it. But if I'm able to work with Mark Wahlberg someday, that'll be amazing because, I think that guy has a pretty good range in his acting. So
100%. No, I love watching Mark Wahlberg in anything he's in, whether it's Ted or some drama. I mean, he's a great actor, and I think every film he does, it just gets better and better and better. So I think that's a great answer. You're very athletic, and I can see you in so many different roles. But is there one role out there that you maybe haven't played yet that you would love to explore and do? What's that one role that you really would like to kind of get into?
Have you ever seen the movie Dallas Buyers Club?
I have not.
Okay, no worries. So Jared Leto is amazing in that movie, and I love pushing boundaries, and I love pushing unconventional, stereotypical looks. And like you mentioned, I do my best to stay active, stay fit. But if there is one role that I am absolutely game to play, I'm a big fan of the LGBTQ community. I'm a huge supporter for them. I have a lot of brothers and friends that are, I champion for them.
Yep.
But Jared Leto's role in Dallas Buyers Club, where he played and I may not be saying his character correctly, so forgive me if it's wrong, but he was a transvestite in that movie. The way he executed that role, flawless. And if in a way there can be a role geared to that I can embody, I'm totally game for.
Yeah.
Funny thing is, I did an audition for, I guess I can say it because it was like a year or 2 years ago. I had to sign an NDA, but I believe it's okay now because they already released the season for American Horror Story.
Oh, okay.
And one of the roles that I auditioned for was like, this was kind of like a straight male, but in drag.
Yeah,
so I basically put myself in drag and was auditioning, and I had a great experience doing that. It was a self-tape audition, but still, I had a great experience doing that.
Yeah.
If there is a role out there for me that can kind of do that, I'm totally like, it'll be great, because the one thing I love about acting is it's the only job I can ever see myself doing where I can experience everything. Yeah. I'm one person that can't be, molded into this. I'm like always on the go, always like doing multiple things. I have a lot of hobbies. I like to keep myself busy. So acting is the only profession I can see myself doing, because as an actor, you can wear many hats, right, and you can learn about many things. And to put yourself in specific type of shoes that you would never expect yourself doing or putting yourself in allows you to kind of open up and kind of see a perspective and a viewpoint from, another person's perspective or viewpoint. And it makes you empathize. And that's why for these types of roles that I'm always envisioning and me playing, I would love to put myself in that situation, because I want to see how me, Cedric, the actor, would respond given this dialogue and given this backstory. How am I going to approach it?
Well, whatever role you do, you have more of appreciation for the person that you're playing. And, yes, and that's the one thing, I will always champion local theaters, community theaters, regional theaters. And because I think it's the one place that it should almost be like required for every high school student to take, drama, at least, for a semester, because I feel that, that community, the theater community, is accepting of everybody. And my son, who is under the autism spectrum, where that's the one place that he could go that he wasn't bullied. It's the one place that he could go that he can feel accepted. And you walk through that door and, everybody is in the same playing field, essentially. And it doesn't matter what you play. You can play a fantasy character or somebody that you never thought you'd play, but whatever role you play, I think you appreciate that person, stepping in their shoes for, whatever amount of time it is. I think you have, you can't help but appreciate what they're going through, or appreciate, their culture, or appreciate everything so yeah, I completely agree with you. And as far as playing that role, I think it would be amazing. And, but again, I just think for listeners out there that are in the theater, that are, new actors, singers, whatever you do creatively, don't stop what you're doing, and just know that you're in a good place, being creative and being, and with your theater friends and acting friends. I think there's no better place to be, in my mind. And I grew up an athlete. I grew up in the sports, and, and as I got older, I got, my kids were in theater, and I got to really grow that appreciation for people that are actors, and it made me open my eyes to so many more things, and become more accepting of everybody, just because I just saw the love, and I saw like the support. And, I don't know, I'm rambling here, but do you agree with what I'm saying?
Totally agree with what you're saying, Dave. And it's very beautiful that you shared that story about your son. I think theater is a safe space, as you said, for us to literally be ourselves and to be vulnerable. There's nothing, and when I was doing theater in college, I've discovered this and I learned this. There is no wrong choice you can ever make in theater. there can be direction that you can take from, obviously the director and how his or her envision would be like to have this production. But it doesn't hurt to make a choice, especially when you're rehearsing. And that's the beauty about it. And because we are being vulnerable and we're allowing ourselves to feel and are allowing ourselves to react and make a choice, and there's nothing wrong that can happen from that. And I think that's beautiful that your son was able to discover that in high school. And I think that's why he loves it, right? Because there's no judgment. There's, you play this character, you play this role, and it's your choice. No one else can play this role the way you play it, right? So that's the beauty about it. This role can be played hundreds, if not thousands of times by different people, but no one can play the exact same role as you're playing it. Yeah. And I think that's the beauty about theater. That's the beauty about acting,
Yeah, for sure. And, I ask all of our guests about, what kind of advice can you give to those, newer actors out there, people that, are just getting started, and, what are some of the things that you can tell them, to in your experience, I guess, as they get started in their careers?
One advice that I like to share with others that are interested in getting involved in this industry is to just be open about putting yourself more in front of the camera, whether that's making a video diary, doing something creative or something silly via selfie mode on we live in a day and age where everyone has access to put themselves in video now. So, and the reason why I say this is because we're always going to be our own toughest critic. I still to this day kind of cringe whenever I see myself in front of the TV, which is kind of weird, right? The moment that we continue getting used to seeing ourselves in front of the camera, whether it's like making a video diary, whether it's like, doing something silly, making a TikTok, lip syncing to a song, or even singing, and then we watch that video back, we play it back. We don't have to share it to other people, but you just have it in your pocket. And then you see yourself and you continue seeing yourself. I think that becomes a little more, it'll help you gain that confidence. It'll help you be very comfortable. So when you find yourself in front of the camera from production or something else, then there's a natural element about it because you're so used to putting yourself in front of the camera. So that's one thing that I started doing a lot more. I don't share these, obviously. There's like my video diaries, but I just record myself on my phone, and then I just either ramble or say a thought that just came up in my head, and I just watch it. And, I watch it with no judgment, and I start appreciating myself more. And then when I get in front of a camera, it just becomes natural for me. So yeah, that's one thing I would encourage other people to start doing.
Yeah, that's great advice. And, I also ask this of everybody as well, but when it's all said and done, what do you want your legacy to be? Cedric, what do you want people to think of when they hear your name, when they think of your name? I mean, down the road.
I just want to be a decent human being. And that's what I've been trying my whole life to be. It's just, living my life with aloha, sharing that aloha. And then just at the end of the day, whether I make an impact, a positive impact to just one person or maybe a few people, I would be very happy with that. But if I were to leave a legacy, it's just to be a decent, kind human soul. And that's what I think that's not much to ask, but that's what I'm trying to always keep in mind every time I do interactions with others, is just, try to give them some positive vibes. Everyone can use some.
That's amazing. That's very well said. And I can tell already that, you're living that, and you're a good guy. And, again, just thank you again for taking the time to be on the show. And like I said, best of luck through this strike, and hopefully it ends soon. And, can't wait to have you back at some point again.
Yeah, Dave, that's amazing. Thank you for talking to me and asking me about my experiences. I'm very humbled and blessed to be a part of your show, man. Thank you.